Derek.
Yes, what's up?
Not only education, and I went to review. So we had no choice. Number two, among all other animals, that animal is Mr. Mannequin, candidate. But other animals, we must be able to align our curriculum, build science laboratory system, our dear beloved parents. The 8th form. We have already written to the president and to the minister. Working with the government in the provision of education to all. I want to highlight some observations that us at Kenya Private Schools Association we have come to note with a lot of concerns. Number one, there is a group of people who are keen on hijacking the CBC reforms process for their own selfish interests. And these people are busy spreading falsehoods and whipping up emotions intended to incite the public against the CBC. Number two, that an aggressive campaign has been launched against CBC with a child watching helplessly. Three, that there is a vain attempt to mislead the public on the nature of the CBC curriculum and what CBC stands for. Number four, that there are people spreading falsehoods about CBC, which is very unfortunate. It is false to claim that CBC is for the rich. Rather, CBC is for all children and mainly seeks to unleash the potential in every learner by focusing on their competencies, that is, their abilities, their talents, their gifts, and special interests that children have, as opposed to exam-oriented system of education that focuses only on high grades. In 844 system, children are compelled to memorize content, notes, just to pass exams. But after doing the exams, all the knowledge they have acquired is forgotten. But CBC is a skilled-oriented system that seeks to cultivate skills in line to the special abilities and unique talents of children. Number two, it is false to claim that CBC is a curriculum that is impossible to implement because it is too expensive to run. That's a lie. Rather, CBC requires that learners improvise the locally available resources and materials. And actually, the child who utilizes the locally available materials scores higher than the child who, for instance, goes to the shop to buy materials to make a certain item required by the teacher. For instance, if a teacher requires that children make a rope, the child who goes to the bananas and gets the dry banana leaves and makes a rope scores highly than the child who goes to the shop to buy the ready-made sisal ropes. So is it correct to say that CBC is too expensive to implement? It is out of misunderstanding of CBC that has brought us to this debate, whereby some politicians are even trying to politicize CBC, which is very unfortunate. There are components like critical thinking and creativity in CBC. So a child who goes out there and picks the clay from the river to mold a toy is exercising the components of creative thinking and critical thinking, and even problem-solving skills. And that is what CBC wants to achieve. If a child is able to make a small house with cartons, maybe that child will be one day an architect. And therefore that talent or that skill is being nurtured very early in life. And for that to succeed, parents are being involved. It is not a journey of the teacher and the learner alone. And we know that parents have complained that they are being over-involved. And those are the areas maybe that the CBC Reform Task Force can look into to measure the level at which parents can be involved. It is also false to say that CBC can only succeed in private schools and not public schools. CBC does not favor children in private schools against their peers in public schools because CBC seeks to improvise the readily available locally materials which are found out there at no cost. So let teachers not demand that parents must buy the items from the shops. There is no such requirement. And what maybe need to be done is to expand the learning activities such that if, for instance, that clay is not available locally, children can be able to do another alternative. If there is no swimming pool available, children don't have to do the swimming. Swimming is just one of the psychomotor activities of learning. Children can go and do, they can go to the field and do a lot of games there. They can compete in various ways in the field. So it is wrong also for you to take videos of children swimming on the ground and share it in social media just to fight CBC, because there is no requirement that a child must swim. It's just one of the activities. There are other alternatives, and CBC seeks that schools utilize the available and locally available resources. It is forced to say that CBC has never happened in any class. I've heard that statement many times. That CBC has never happened. Have you visited our schools? Have you come to classrooms? You'll be surprised that children enjoy CBC lessons. If you compare the 844 class and the CBC class, the 844 learners look stressed. The CBC children are a happy lot. The learning activities are full of fun. And therefore, we know that it requires teachers also to go an extra mile to prepare those learning activities. And some of them, maybe they are used to teach or to lecture with a piece of chalk in the class, and they have mastered the content. But CBC is telling us to come from our comfort zones. It's calling us, for the sake of our children, to go out of our way and help children to unleash their potential. What are some of the motives of the CBC falsehoods? These are the motives of those who are fighting CBC, some of them. Number one, influencing the work and recommendations of yet to be established presidential task force on education reform. So they want to influence the outcome of the task force. Once it is established, it's good to give them a chance to do their work, but don't try to influence them. Number two, the motive is to incite and rally Kenyans against CBC. Three, denying Kenyans an open and objective outlook and participation on CBC reforms process as directed by the president. Number four, blocking the truth about CBC and preparing the stage for a motively charged environment under which CBC reforms will be carried out. Number four, using CBC debate as a platform to elevate yourself politically or seek relevance of some kind. It is rather unfortunate. So this is our humble appeal. This is our humble appeal even to our president and to Kenyans and to all parents who have possibly been given the false information. Let us change our attitude. Spare CBC. Please spare CBC for the sake of our children and generations to come. If we eradicate CBC, those children, one day, they will become of age and they will never forgive us. Those who are fighting CBC, none of them have challenged the content of the CBC. None of them have taken the books of CBC and challenged that this item, that item is wrong. They are just giving it what we are calling CBC mob justice. That must stop. Our message to those waging undue war against CBC is simple. You cannot block the truth. The truth will speak for itself, and in the fullness of time, your falsehoods will melt down under the power of truth. Let's engage in CBC debate soberly. Notably, Kenyans still believe CBC is good for our children, but needs a bit of panel beating. Private schools are for the CBC. Private schools are for CBC. And with panel beating, CBC will become one of the best curriculums we have in Africa. Kenyans don't believe that CBC should be abolished. Let's keep moving. Let's not engage the reverse gear. Remember that perfect time never comes. We will never have a time that we have got all the resources required, all the classrooms, all the books, everything required for any curriculum to be implemented. But as we move along, we shall be able to fill the gaps. But children must go through learning. For the sake of our children, let us not politicize CBC. For the sake of our children, we plead with all politicians and other people, please let us not politicize CBC. For the sake of our children, let's not peddle falsehoods about CBC. Let's desist from blanket condemnation on CBC or what appears now to be mob justice against the CBC. Let's work together with the best interest of the child at heart. We also ask the media to listen to both sides of the coin. If today you talk about some shortcomings about CBC, the media don't want to hear the good things about CBC. But before you do that, even our friends from the Fourth Estate and other Kenyans at large, think about a child who from class 1 to Form 4 always becomes number last. That is the 844 system for you. And that child probably is a gifted footballer. He is the Ronaldo, the Messi of today. But just because he cannot get high grades in physics, in mathematics, he is condemned for life. is this system really good for our children? Let us be honest. And I refused the narrative that CBC is expensive. CBC requires us to improvise, not buy materials from the shops. I also refuse the narrative that we are not ready for CBC. We will never be ready. We just need to get started. Let us not kill the baby when the baby is trying to walk. When a baby is trying to walk, you don't throw the baby to the ground, but rather you support the baby to walk. CBC is a baby that requires to be supported to walk. And eventually, at the long term, we shall reap the benefits of CBC. It is also wrong to say that research has never been done on CBC. It is not true, Mr. President. It is not true for those who could be misleading you, Mr. President. There is a lot of rigorous work that has been done. And we believe that if we come together, we shall be able to solve the issues that the CBC could be having. Let's put children first. Let's come together. Let's all support the Presidential Task Force on Education reforms. His Excellency the President has promised to establish a Presidential Task Force to review CBC, and we in private schools are in full support of the Presidential Task Force on Educational Reforms. We want to bring together all the ideas and we address the issues that could be surrounding the CBC. We also want to appreciate that the President did not condemn CBC. The President did not condemn CBC, but invited us all for public participation, for public dialogue on CBC. So let those who are fighting CBC hold their peace, hold their horse, and let us be patient. Under the new leadership of His Excellency Dr. William Samoei Ruto, Kenya Private Schools Association is optimistic about an enhanced working environment between private schools and the government in the spirit of private-public partnership. Private schools remain committed to complementing the government's efforts of providing holistic and quality education for all. Kenya Private Schools Association believes in inclusivity and robust public participation in making and implementing public policy decisions in line with Article 10 of the Constitution. Established the Education Reform Task Force. We humbly appeal to Mr. President to invite private schools, Kenya Private Schools Association, other stakeholders, and technocrats in education sector for a briefing and a discussion on CBC, so that he can also have the opportunity to hear the side of our story. We also invite those who are opposing CBC to visit schools.